Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, James. As you said, I'm currently at a SaaS conference in Malmo, Sweden, and I've had to run back to my hotel room. So apologies in advance for any Wi-Fi issues or if I just lose my train of thought. So my name's Amarni. I'm the BDR team leader here at Paddle, and we're essentially a payments platform for SaaS businesses. I also work in the strategic team as a BDR, so focusing on our larger clients. I previously worked in SMB and then mid-market over the past 12 months. I mainly speak to C-suite level personas, so CFOs, CEOs, and CROs. Today, I want to talk to you about three things that I think are super important as a BDR at any stage of your career, but also as a successful business person in general. They are personalization, perseverance, and personal growth. It's an amalgamation of everything that I've learned from some excellent people in sales. And I think there's some really, really useful stuff. So I'll jump straight into personalization. So the average decision maker is getting hundreds of emails every day. So the key question is, how do you stand out consistently? There's no debate that personalization is better than not personalizing. Personalized emails are 6 times more likely to be replied to than non-personalized emails. The debate lies in the cost benefit of writing a dissertation for every prospect just for the email to bounce or for it to be bad timing. There's definitely a middle ground, and that's what I want to dive into today. So I've been experimenting since Q4 last year, setting a timer for my emails. There's a concept called Parkinson's law that essentially explains the amount of time you attribute to something is how long it will take you, right? If you give yourself the weekend to clean your room, it will take you the whole weekend. If you give yourself 2 hours, it'll probably take you closer to 2 hours. So the same applies for these personalized emails. How many of you have spent hours crafting the perfect email for a prospect, finding every piece of information you can about them just for the email to bounce or for them to have integrated something else, right? We've all been there. So time spent emailing and personalizing those emails has diminishing returns on either end. But I think somewhere between 6 to 12 minutes is the sweet spot. We actually did an exercise in my team last week where what we did is we'd all write an email to the same persona with a 6-minute timer on. We then presented them back and talked about how we went about constructing the email and the ways we found the information. It was interesting because the time limit meant only relevant stuff was included. The email was worded succinctly, and it made the email much more about the prospect, as there wasn't time to add a list of all of our features and benefits. Give this a go for yourself. Set a timer for 6 minutes, do all the research you can on a prospect for an email. It might be difficult at first, but if you can crack it, you can essentially write 10 super personalized emails an hour. Even if you only did 2 hours of emails a day, that's 100 super personalized emails a week. You do that for 6 months, that's almost 2,500 personalized emails. There's no way you're not going to book meetings out of that. I know what you're thinking though, in the short term, what if I'm writing all of these amazing emails, but I'm not seeing any results because they're not even getting read by my audience? This is where you've got to start thinking creatively and outside of the box. If someone was trying to grab your attention, what would be the best way to do it? The difficulty is people are receptive to different things. Some people love videos, some people love emails, others will only listen if you literally turn up at their office. The only way to be consistent across all of these personality types is to vary your approach. We're really fortunate here at Paddle that we get a lot of autonomy with our outreach. We're able to incorporate really cool products like Reach Desk, which lets you send personalized gifts and direct mails to prospects. Videos are great, but if you spend ages making one and the prospect doesn't open it, it might not be an efficient use of your time. One of my personal favorite alternatives is a personalized gift software called Vidu. What you can do is essentially create an individual gift for a prospect and generate it in under 10 seconds. You can include a message, pose with a photo of their website, or just create an eye-catching meme that summarizes your value prop. It's the epitome of personalization at scale. Hit on my man, William Holding, on LinkedIn if you want some more info on that. But there's also a free trial that you can just get started with. Myself and my team have had some amazing results just from adding one video into our sequences. Recently, a couple of my colleagues, Aaron and Roisin, handwrote 50 letters and sent them around the world. They then followed up with a photo of the note, and they got some really, really good results. I'm also a big fan of the Diver CEO podcast, and Karen Brady was on there recently. She said that whenever she hears the word no, she interprets it as try a different way to get to your goal. So anytime you get a rejection or don't get a reply from a prospect, try a different approach that's a bit more outside of the box and see what the results are. But the bottom line is be creative and original, but still keep your output high enough to account for all the different variables. The second big thing that I want to speak about today is perseverance. How do we keep motivated when things just aren't going our way? Which I promise you, at some point in sales, they won't go your way. Some days you're going to put in 110% effort and see nothing. Others, you'll just have good things fall into your lap. We work in an industry where the fruits of your labor are often not reaped when you plant the seeds. The Pareto 80-20 principle is a really good example of this. It's the concept that 80% of your results come from 20% of your work. In other words, a lot of the work that you're doing might not directly result in progression towards your targets. This sounds demotivating off the bat, but what I want to encourage you to do is shift your mindset away from those targets in a sort of way and to reframe what winning and losing looks like for you. We talk a lot at Paddle about process and focusing on your day to day. When I moved into an outbound role, I started with speaking to people who had been successful in the role previously. I asked how many calls did they do? How many emails did they send? How many meetings did they have to hit their target? I worked off those numbers and wrote down my own targets for every day at the start of the day. You essentially want to aim to become that person who won't finish the day until that list is complete. What you'll actually find is if you define the parameters of your day, you'll know what success for that day looks like. When you look at work like this, you shift your focus from a very results-orientated approach to a process-orientated one. You start to understand that 20% of your work that will contribute to that 80% of results will come when it comes, as long as you maintain those standards that you've set for yourself. You become less susceptible then to being demotivated when things aren't going your way, and ultimately are more capable of persevering. You're probably thinking, what happens if I do all of this stuff and I still don't see results? Firstly, take a step back, manage the manageables, control the controllables. It sounds cliche, but I'm always asking myself, am I contacting the right people and the right companies? Am I contacting enough people? Is the quality of those contacts high enough? Okay, how can I improve the calls that I'm making? Probably by watching more people do calls, by getting advice on LinkedIn, maybe by coming to one of James's sales confidence talks. Also checking, am I getting the right coaching? Do I fully understand the value prop and what I'm selling? You've got to be asking yourself these questions regularly, as they are the things that are within your control. The best people in sales are confident enough in their ability to deliver results because they know that their processes are solid and will get them that 80% in the end. That's how they're able to persevere when the going gets tough. Process leads me really nicely on to the final section on personal growth. The best way to build these processes is to check in with yourself on a weekly basis. As of today, I want you to think of yourself as the CEO of your own company. And the product you're selling is the most valuable product you will ever develop, your own personal growth. I want you to set yourself goals to achieve X by Y day and plan out a process. On a weekly basis, check in with how you've performed against those goals. Invest in yourself on a consistent basis, whether that be training courses, market research, coaching, or scheduling time with senior leaders. Track how you're performing against these goals. But also don't forget to give yourself credit for the journey that you're on. It's easy to feel comparatively weaker compared to people in your team, but there are a whole host of variables in sales that we don't know that are impacting things. We're all in sales because we're hungry, we're competitive, and we're driven. And sometimes that can mean always rushing forward into the next month or quarter and not just taking a moment to look back on what we've achieved. Learn to change the narrative of failure from a negative to a positive learning experience. Fail fast and fail often is a term often used around startups to explain how failure can help you learn things much quicker than success can. So my bottom line and kind of key takeaway from all of this is if you go away today and design a repeatable process, you stick with it for 12 months through the setbacks, the failures, and the doubts, I promise that you're going to be successful. You're going to make yourself and your company a lot of money. You're going to get promoted and you're going to feel like you're growing into a much better person. Please drop me a connection on LinkedIn. I'm happy to discuss any of this in more detail, but otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Cheers, guys.